Hello there. Today we are taking a look at this stat right down here, Tyre preservation. As you can see, it's currently at 100%, which is kind of hard to get to and not really realistic. But the idea here is very simple. I'm going to be testing Tyre preservation and we're going to be seeing how different they are on 100%, 70% and 40%, which is basically what most player teams start with. And if Tyre preservation is going to be something you would like to invest in order to make your car faster. Generally, though, I'd say Tyre preservation strength lies in being able to make different strategies, but that's basically what we're going to do here. We're going to jump into Bahrain with these three settings. Bahrain has a very high degradation and a soft tire that has a huge advantage, so we'll be seeing the potential gains here better there. But remember, anything that has to do with Tyre preservation is going to be stronger on high deg tracks and weaker on lower deg tracks, so tracks like Baku probably won't get as much of a benefit. With that said though, let's just jump straight in, and if you do enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, helps me out a ton, and I'll be back with other guides in the future. But yeah, we're gonna just jump straight in and have a look at what strategies we have available to us with 40, 70, and 100% Tyre preservation. So the way that we're mainly going to do this test is straight up just by making strategies and comparing race times, because you can use this as an estimation. It is generally pretty accurate, I dare say, unless of course incidents happen, you have a lot of battling. This basically takes into account that this should be a race time provided you don't lose any time doing any of that, basically. Now, what we're going to do here is use the exact same strategy for all three setups, which is two softs and a medium here. We're going to make sure that the laps are all the same. And we're going to be comparing, in particular, the estimated race time from each strategy. That is going to be our main source of, well, checking if the changes does anything. Now, I've also gone ahead and done a different thing here, and that is that for Bottas, I've given him 80 smoothness. And for Dune, we've given him 70. And that's just so that we can also see just how impactful smoothness would be in this situation compared to, you know, a lower rated smoothness driver. With the exception of smoothness, they are identical. Dune has everything at 80 and 70. Bottas has everything at 80 and 80 smoothness as well. Sorry. And already we can see that Bottas has 27.29. And Dune has a 27.33. And again, the only difference here is 10 points of smoothness. So over the course of a race here, you save about 4 seconds. But for some of the high-end races, those 4 seconds can be the difference between winning and losing. So as you can imagine, smoothness is very important in this year's game as well. And just to make absolutely clear, this is the 40% one. I will be trying to verify this by running races later, but generally here we're just going to be interested in looking at the estimated race times to begin with. And for 40% at 27.33 and 27.29 with a 4-second gap due to the difference in smoothness. Here we are with the 70% Tyre preservation car, and as you can see, Bottas's time has gone down to 1:27.21. That's 8 seconds faster than his previous time with a 40% car. And well, 8 seconds does seem like a lot. It is a lot in terms of total race time. It's not a lot in terms of, you know, one lap pace, but it does help out. And let's be honest here, this gives us also more chances of running full attack towards the end of the stint. So the time game in here is actually quite a lot larger than what is shown on screen here. And we can probably also mess with this strategy a little bit in order to speed things up. As you can see, we can just pit a little bit earlier. We can run on standard, but as you can see, we don't really save much time. But we'll be comparing the main strategy, but thoughts like this is going to come in here, and that is something that you do need to keep in mind, that you are actually saving a lot more time in this one than the previous one, simply because of the flexibility it gives you. Not only are you faster just from the estimated race time, but you're going to be able to run attack much earlier, saving you even more time, and you even have a lot of flexibility on the medium stint here that we are kind of forced to do. So do keep that in mind. This is already a lot stronger than the previous one, probably more than 8 seconds. Let's see what we can do if we mess around with the strategy a little bit. We can get down to probably 17 at the very least. Aggressive, as you can see, it's not really gaining us anything. So let's see here. We can get to 27.17. And again, as I mentioned, we can still run attack towards the end. This is basically similar tire wear as the 40% one. And you already have about a 15-second advantage. That is huge just from that. Also, interestingly enough, Dune was 4 seconds behind on the last strategy, On this one, he's just 2 seconds behind, but of course, compared to, say, Bottas, he won't have as much freedom to be aggressive. And we can actually bring him close to 2 seconds again. But, as I mentioned, a little bit less freedom. But 70 here is definitely quite an upgrade compared to 40%. So let's take a look and see what 100% tire preservation, which is going to be, again, hard to achieve, is actually going to do to the car. So here we are with 100% tire preservation, and another 7 seconds has been shared off here of Bottas' lap time compared to 70%, and 15 seconds compared to initial 40% one. So if you consider the difference at the end of races, this is actually quite a huge gain, and it's just a single stat that you mainly will be focusing on your suspension, which means that for your suspension, I can't really recommend doing anything else in tire preservation because A, it's going to be extremely powerful at tracks, say, like Barcelona. Barcelona being probably the best example, a track where it's going to be probably insanely strong, but it's just going to help you being way more flexible with your strategies. If you have a extra tire or anything like that, if you lack a tire that you have to use an extra one in qualifying, it's not going to be as big of an issue. And as you can see, even if we try and maximize the strategy 2707, we're still almost 22 seconds faster than the initial strategy. So you can do some pretty insane things. Now, compared to Doohan is now just 1 second away from Bottas' strategy. And what this tells us is that as your tire preservation goes up, smoothness becomes less important. So if you have a car with 2 drivers that do not have any tire preservation skill, they don't have any smoothness, it's probably a really, really good idea to invest in it. Probably not enough to invest in it on your front wing, but definitely go all in on suspension if you have to, because the estimated race time is one thing, but as I mentioned here several times now, just the flexibility with tire strategy is going to be a huge one. And it is quite important to be able to be flexible with it, to make new strategies if you need to. And as you can see, even if we can add in a hard, it's not going to do things quicker, simply because of Bahrain. But it does give you a lot more flexibility to just have your tire preservation at a high level. And as I mentioned, 100% is not really realistic. But you can actually get 10% or so from the suspension sim building. So maybe it is doable. And we'll go and have a look at that in a second. So there's actually 2 buildings that has an effect on your tire preservation. As you can see, with a suspension sim at max level, you get 10% increase on your suspension itself. This is probably the most important building if you want to improve your tire preservation. And as you can see, the upkeep of a max level suspension sim isn't that high. It's basically just affording this thing in the first place. That's going to be your issue. You're paying 1.2 million a year, which is basically nothing. And the same for the car part test center is going to give you tire preservation on the front wing. And here too, the upkeep is very minimal. Both of these can basically be upkept for less than a level 2 factory, less than a level 2 design center. And honestly, they are pretty similar to just level 1 wind tunnel and CFD, but these do cost a lot more as you upgrade them, and you never should do that. Again, just want to mention it in every video at this point. But yeah, you can get a lot of tire preservation from your suspension sim, from your car part test center, and that is going to help out. But focus suspension sim if you really want to get tire preservation, because suspension is the strongest component, and you also do get a lot of cooling from this car part test center. So again, just get these 2 first if you're looking for car performance. Upgrade them as you see fit. But to finish off this kind of experiment, I'm also going to do one more thing. We're going to take a look at Bottas and Doohan again. But we're going to give Bottas 100 smoothness to kind of mimic a Norris level smoothness, and we're going to give Doohan 80 and see if that has any effect on our experiment. So to test this, we're going to be looking at Bottas in particular on 100 smoothness here, and at 40%, which was at 29 in the earlier one, that is now gone down to 24, and it does have more time to play around with. So again, definitely smoothness is going to be an important factor in your strategies. At 70%, the difference between Bottas' earlier time, which was 21, has gone down to about 4 seconds. Again, we're not really seeing a huge amount of extra tire gained here, but it's definitely quicker. So again, it just adds more flexibility. At 100% here, we're down to 2712, which means that again, as your kind of tire preservation go up, there are limits to how much can be gained in this strategy, simply because we don't really have enough tire to burn to really make a difference. But as you can see, we actually made it under the 27 minute mark with this one. So smoothness plus tire preservation can definitely be a very, very good combination. And I would recommend investing in tire preservation no matter which team you are. It is just very, very good. And particularly on certain tracks, high drag tracks, it can give you an advantage. And here's something that I can't stress enough. It's going to allow you to push a lot more easily in order to catch up to, say, cars ahead, get overtakes done. So tire preservation seems to be incredibly powerful, and I can't do anything but endorse it. So in terms of how we would go ahead and do this, maximize the tire preservation and top speed slider on your car, and maximize the top speed and tire preservation on your suspension. Maybe sacrifice it on the front wing. As long as you get over 60 to 70% tire preservation, it seems that's where kind of you start seeing less and less gains. But generally, getting it to 70 or even 80% is going to be plenty for most people, and it is going to make you a lot faster around the racetrack. Now, should you invest that in cornering? Probably. So front wing is still going to be cornering focused, but suspension is definitely going to be, if not all in on tire preservation, all in on tire preservation and top speed. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this little analysis, I guess, of tire preservation and if you should use it. I have to say you should, but that is it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Didn't really get around too much testing today as I've been busy, but it kind of correlates to what I've seen in the game so far. So I believe these numbers to be accurate. If you have any questions or you feel I've done something wrong, please let me know and I'll take a look at it. I have been a little bit rushed today, so I might have made a mistake somewhere. If I have, let me know and I'll try and correct it. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.